Hey everybody, welcome. I am Romi Hill and I'm the knitwear designer behind Designs by Romi. And today is my live about clue number 4 in the 2025 Mystery Shawl Funston. And I'm still not in my studio, so I don't have all of my stuff that I usually have, but hopefully you guys will still forgive me. And it's lovely to see you. I can see all of you over in the chat, and welcome. I am in Northern Nevada. Everybody is like talking about where you're from, and it's pretty warm today. It's in the 80s, but it's nice and cool at night. So it cools down a lot at night. So usually I don't even have to have the AC on in the daytime, which is really nice. So anyway, I will be watching like all of the chat over here to make sure that I'm catching your questions. And I do have a question I'm going to answer before we get started on the clue and a little bit into the clue. But first, I hope that you will like and subscribe because that really helps the metrics for my account. Anyway, hi everybody. It's lovely to see Devora. I'm so glad that you were able to make it today. And I agree, please stay safe, everybody. And Karen says Hercules is only 70. Yeah, it must be really nice weather out there. Anyway, so welcome. And let's see. If you have any questions or anything, please ask me in the chat and I will make sure to kind of keep an eye on it. I have it over here on my iPad over to the side. So if I keep looking over there, that's why. And Scotland, this is so cool. Everybody from all over. Okay, so let me transition over to my hand camera and I'm going to turn on the light on this. I didn't have it on because it reflects in my glasses and it looks really weird. So here is clue 4. For those of you who don't know why it's called Funston, it's because this is Mystery Shawl number 13. And in San Francisco, 13th Avenue is actually named Funston. So it was just kind of a thing. Anyway, so up at the top, the usual, since you're here, I know you've saw the link. Then it's like a little teeny tiny little pattern synopsis down here. So I hope you don't miss it. It just has the 2 charts, and I'm going to talk about those charts too. And then helpful videos over to the left here. And if you have any other particular things that I don't cover, let me know. And someone did let me know that they were having a question about things. So let me go on here over to the charts. So I have chart G that's in color 2 completely, and then chart H is in color 1. So my question that I got was someone was running short on color 1 and wanted to know how much more of color 1 there was. And she said that there were a lot of other people who had the same question. So let's talk a little bit about color usage. So when I did this, I assumed no more than 380 yards of yarn. And so I calculated how much that would be. And then I also added some extra just to make sure that people would have some left. So, but if you are running short, I will share with you this. There's these 4 rows up here of color 1. And then on the next clue, this is the penultimate clue. The ultimate clue, clue number 5, is next week. And there is another little strip of color 1. So this one is 4 rows, the next one is 5 rows. So I just wanted to share that with you in case some people are getting nervous about it. I hate like that nervous feeling. So there is that strip, and if you're unsure about whether you want to chance it or not, may I suggest a scale. So this is a cute little scale that I got when I taught at a retreat, some retreat or other, I'm not sure. I think it was for Ann Budd. And I use a yarn scale a lot. So what I do is I will generally weigh my yarn before I start working a row. And I like to work 2 rows to get kind of a better idea of how much I'm going to be using per row. So I'd use like knit 2 rows and then figure out how much I use and how much knitting I have left to go. So, and then I add maybe a gram or something like that, because as you go along, the shawl is actually increasing, the rows are increasing in length. So that has never steered me wrong. So I highly recommend a yarn scale. Foolishly, like, stores do not categorize them under yarn scales, but they're often called kitchen scales. I don't know why on earth they would call a yarn scale a kitchen scale, but there you have it. That's just the way it goes. So those are good. Jewelry scales are good. I think that archers use scales in order to put the little tips on and make sure that they weigh the proper amount. So there are lots of different places that you can find a good scale. I have one in my studio that has grams and ounces and troy ounces, because I also weigh metal. This one has grams and ounces, and I think it's probably just supposed to be a kitchen scale or something, but I think it's really cute because that little thing clips in, and I can carry it around like this and then pops out. Okie dokie. And Sue says maybe we can weigh it before the strip of 4 rows and after, and then we'll have an idea. Yes, for sure. Yes, absolutely, for sure. So also, if you're running short, I will say this is a strip. So if you want to add a 3rd color, if you feel like you don't have enough yarn and you want to add a 3rd color, it will look it'll look nice. So, so you don't have to order a whole extra skein. Like if you have some remnants lying around or something like that, it would be perfect for this, because you're just going to have like a little kind of extra pop of color. And it's like, it's not a lace chart like this one where it would look really weird kind of switching to a different color in the middle of the lace. This one is, because it's, you know, straight edge on both sides, it lends itself really well to adding a 3rd color. Okie dokie. Alrighty, so back to this. Just the usual. I haven't added anything in here, so this is the same as it was before. And remember, if you want links to, you know, different places, you can use this QR code. So you'll find my newsletter, this YouTube channel, Facebook group, all sorts of frequently asked questions, all kinds of resources and groups and all kinds of stuff. So if you're lost, this is a good place to go. Okay, so on to chart G. Okay, so let me pull over. I'm gonna pull over the last bit of clue 3. So I just want to make a note here. So you can see here in the middle of these repeats, the double decrease is right in the middle here of the repeats. So when we end this chart here, there are 15 stitches, over on each side. So each side has 15 stitches. And then in the middle here, there are 15 stitches all the way across. So there's 7, and then the middle, and then 7 here. So even though it seems a little counterintuitive at first, this chart here starts out and it has the double decreases over on the side here. So you're going to start out with 1 extra repeat sort of worked in to the center here out of the 15 stitches. So you will have 5 stitches on the side here, and in the middle here you're going to have 15 stitches to work with, and then over on this side you're going to have 5 stitches again. Okay, so if you've knit much lace before, you will know that when you do a double decrease right next to a repeat line like this, you're going to be borrowing stitches. So let me show you how you can figure that out. So the first thing is that double decrease is a dead giveaway. Like, that shows you that you're probably going to be moving your stitches around. So if there's a pattern, for sure you're going to be moving them around. Sometimes if you're starting out with a double decrease like this, and before that there's just solid fabric, sometimes you won't have to move it on the first row, but that really depends on how the designer has written it. So always just pay a little bit of extra attention right here on that first double decrease right here. Okay, so let's count how many stitches we're gonna need to do everything on this side right here. So we need 1, 2 here, and then 3, 4. So I need 4 stitches to accomplish this little bit right before this repeat bar. Okay, but I have 5 stitches. So like I was saying before, that double decrease means that I'm going to be borrowing stitches. So in this case, because the double decrease is on the far side of that repeat right here, that means I'm going to be borrowing a stitch over here from the right. So I'm going to be taking a stitch from the 5 stitches, so I'm only going to need those 4 stitches. The 5th stitch is going to be incorporated into this repeat. And then the same thing is going to happen over here on the other side. So boom, I need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches here instead of 7 stitches that I have. So I'm going to need an extra stitch from over in this repeat here. It's going to come over onto this side. So I will have my extra stitch to work this. And I think this is the thing that I get the most questions about when I get people and they're like, your pattern is wrong. And so I think this is like the number one thing that people have questions about, because it can be tricky. But remember, when you're looking at a pattern like this and you're looking at the chart like this chart actually represents your finished row. So at the end of the row, this is what it's going to look like. So at the beginning of the row, you may not have the stitches in the right place to accomplish it, but you're just going to have to move them around so that at the end of the row, it looks like this. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Alrighty, okay, so I'm just checking over here to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, alrighty, so, and remember I was talking before about how my patterns mirror one another, the sides mirror one another. So here's the center here, and then you can see the double decrease is to the right of the repeat line over here, whereas over on this side it was to the left. So that means I am going to use over here 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. So in this little part right here, I'm going to be using 8 stitches, but I only have 7. So same thing is happening here that happened over on the other side. I gave an extra stitch into this area right here to do this. So over here, I'm going to be borrowing a stitch from inside this repeat here. So one of the stitches inside here is going to come over into this area, so I can make that 8 stitches. And then on this side over here, remember you have 5 stitches on the end here, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. We don't need the 5 stitches, which is good because that 5th stitch is going to go into this repeat here, and you're going to get used for that double decrease. So when you're working these double decreases, it's going to be this way all the way across. So 20 times on either side, you're going to have to move your stitches 20 times over here and then 20 times over here. So each time you go through that repeat. So one of the things that I really hate doing is taking out stitch markers and putting them back, and I always use stitch markers. So because I just lose place otherwise, like my mind wanders, I'll be thinking about something else, and then I have no idea where I am in the chart. So I'm going to show you what I do when I need to move my stitch markers. And this is just something that I basically made up. And one day I was teaching in Atlanta for the knitting guild there, which it was a great guild. And so I was teaching, and I was just kind of whipping through some stuff in a class, and I used this method, and like it ended up that it wasn't really something I was teaching in the class, but it was the one thing that everybody loved the most out of the class. So it was funny. Like I had this whole class prepared, but this was the one thing that was the hit of the class. So let me kind of get something to keep my place in the chart. I am going to do the first row of this chart. Hi, Carol. It's nice to see you. And let's see. Okay, so I have a question. The borrowing only happens at the very beginning of the repeat and the very end of the repeat, not on every repeat. Actually, on every single repeat that you work in here, you're going to be borrowing. So I will show you what that looks like. I think I understand your question, though I may not have understood your question, and correct me if I am getting it wrong, please. Trying to find something to hold this in place. Okay, so we're just gonna do this. Let's get this a little bit closer here. Okay, so I have this set up so that there are 5 stitches on the end here, and then there's 10 stitches here, and then I have 7 stitches, a middle stitch, 7, 10, and 5. So every single repeat that I do is going to be just like this repeat. So if you are doing, you have your whole shawl on your needles, every single repeat is going to be worked the same way. I hope I am getting this correct. Okay, so, and Nancy asked, can you show us what the first row of chart G looks like in relation to the last row of chart F? So let me grab that again before I start this. Okay, oops, I don't remember where I put it. Okay, it's around here somewhere. Oh, I think I'm using it as a chart keeper. Oops. Okay. Aha, here it is. So this is the last row of chart F. So over here you'll see that there are 15 stitches here, 10, 7, 1, 7, 10, and then 15 over on this side, because this 15th stitch doesn't show up really until the next row. So this is actually 15, even though it looks like 14 right here. So you can see all of the double decreases are in the middle here on chart F, whereas over here on chart G, they've moved to right beside the repeat line for a couple of right side rows. And these are all right side, by the way. There are no wrong sides shown in this chart. The wrong side row is up at the top here. So there are 5 stitches over here. It looks like there are a lot more symbols there, and that's only because so many stitches are being created. So hopefully that that makes sense. And yay, I'm glad I answered the question. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let me put this back. I'm gonna cover this up. Okay. So let me just start here at the beginning. So I'm just gonna start right over here with a knit front and back. And whenever I have just a generic make one, I always just use my make one left, because that is actually, it's easier for me. So this is the edge here. This is the knit front back, and then knit one through the back loop. And now I'm going to create a bunch of stitches here. So I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to make one. So this can get a little bit fiddly. Either way you do it. So that's a make one, and then a yarn over. So now I'm here, and I have 2 knits. Okay. And a make one. Okay, so now I'm at the repeat line, but I have this 1 stitch left. So remember, we were talking about that. That's okay, because this whole area here only used 4 stitches. So this 1 stitch is going to go onto the other side here, and these 3 stitches are going to create a double decrease. So if I'm just moving 1 stitch over like this to the left, I always just pull my marker through to do that. And now I'm going to do my double decrease. It's a CDD, a centered double decrease. And this one makes that the center stitch will be the top stitch. So just like the ones you've been doing in the last chart. So I'm going to do knit 2 and then knit 1 through the back loop, and that is over a yarn over. So you'll see when you do this that it was over a yarn over. I try not to show you what the pattern is going to look like, because I know a lot of you really like to just see how it comes together. So I didn't want to have any spoilers here. Okay, and now I'm going to knit 2. And just like before, we have that extra stitch there, and I'm going to pull my stitch marker through and do my center double decrease. So this is one of those times when the markers around the center stitch really, really help. So Nancy says, I'm only counting 4 stitches at the beginning instead of 5. Where am I going wrong? I don't know where you're going wrong. You should have 5 stitches on either side. So 5 stitches on the left, like over here, and 5 stitches on the right over here. And then you're going to be using 4 of the stitches in this. So you're using 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches over here, and then that 5th one is going to get incorporated into the middle. So if all of your stitch counts are correct, like in other words, you have enough for 20 repeats in here, and then over here you have 7, 1, and 7, so a total of 15 in the middle, but you still only have 4 stitches on either side. You probably just missed an increase or something. And if that is the case, just add a stitch over here and on the other side as well, if that is the case. Otherwise, like, you have to make sure that it is correct all the way across though, in order to do that, because if you just add a stitch, you can mess up the pattern. So just make sure that however many stitches you have over here, one of them is going into this repeat here. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so Judy was saying she missed a yarn over. That's incredibly common. Super easy to miss a yarn over. Okay, so I'm just going to continue over here, and I have 2 stitches. And then this little area in the center, I'm going to make a bunch of increases. So this is one of the really cool things about lace. Lace is incredibly versatile and malleable in that if I leave out increases in the middle, if I leave out some increases in the middle and then add them all on one row, or if I put some extra ones in the middle or something like that, it will block out and it will still look really nice. Whereas something like a sweater, something that you are knitting at a tighter gauge, if you do that, you can usually see the extra increases or decreases or whatever, and sometimes you can get lumps from them. But in something like this, in lace, I can just add these in here so that the chart will repeat itself properly, and it actually it adds to the pattern, and it also it doesn't screw anything up. Like, it's still going to look really pretty in the middle here. So I hope you like that part. It's one of my faves. Okay, so Nancy, you did have the right number. Yay. Okay, phew. I'm glad. Okay, so let's keep going over here. All right, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now over here, now I'm gonna have 2 stitches here to do my center double decrease. And I need this 3rd stitch here over on the other side. So here's my little trick that was more popular than my entire class. So I'm gonna slip these 2 stitches. And by the way, I am using like super skinny little markers, but I've tried this with dangly markers too, and it works. Okay, so I'm gonna slip these 2 together. Now I'm gonna go completely around the marker and knit 1. And I always like to kind of put my finger on here so nothing slips off, or my thumbnail. And I still have that when I knit, I have not dropped the stitch off the needle. Now I am going to pass those 2 slipped stitches over, take my 2 stitches off the needle there, stick my needle through my stitch marker, and then finally pull that knitted stitch off. So I've moved my marker, and here is my double decrease. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again as well, and then you can see it. And I will also go back and do this English style. Right now, I'm just doing this whole row continental, but I'll do English next. Okay, so here's the next one. I'm going to slip 2 stitches together, and then I'm totally ignoring the stitch marker. I'm gonna knit around it. I don't get my needle through it at all. So I've knit a stitch, but I didn't take the stitches off the needle. Now I'm going to pass those 2 slip stitches over and stick my right needle through that stitch marker, and now I can pull everything off the needle. and I have 4 stitches left. So I'm gonna make a stitch here. This is gonna get a little fiddly here because I just cast on. I didn't want to do a bunch of patterning first. And it's just the mirror image of the other side. Okay. We'll mirror except that the ends, because I always want that stitch that I create from the KFB to be between the 2 edge stitches. Okay, so there we go. So that's what it looks like for now. I'm just gonna kind of whip through this. Yay, I'm glad you guys appreciate my little trick there. It makes things way faster, and like it has saved me so much time knitting. I just can't even tell you, because so many lace patterns require you to move stitch markers. Okay, so today is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter YouTube, because my back has been spasming, and I can feel it getting really unhappy that I'm sitting still right now. So like if I'm kind of moving around like this, I'm sitting on a bouncy yoga ball, but it's still kind of like not happy. So like if you see me kind of bouncing around and moving, that's why. That's what's going on. Okay. So I'm just going to scoot along here, and then I will do the next right side row. Yeah, so Nancy is saying it's easy to see if something's wrong if the knit one through the back loop isn't above a yarn over and the CDD doesn't line up. Yeah. So, and that is the beauty of being able to read your knitting, because you can see right off a lot of times, most times, if you have made a mistake. You can see it immediately. You know, there's some patterns where it's a kind of a funky pattern, like a lot of wavy patterns and stuff like that. Sometimes it's really hard to tell how things are supposed to line up. But with most patterns, you can actually tell. So that's good. Okay. Almost to the end here. Okay. Let's just move this up a little bit. Alrighty, so again, like this is very similar to the last row, and that we're gonna be moving the stitch markers. And this time I am going to do it English style. And you all can laugh at my English knitting. It's not great, but it gets the job done, so that's all we need, right? Okay, so that's the edge. So believe it or not, this is how my mother taught me to knit, and I knit very slowly like this for many, many years. She was able to lever, but somehow I just was not coordinated enough. I used to think it was because I have like short little fingers and her fingers were longer, but I just think I'm not coordinated enough with my right hand to do that. So for some reason, I don't know. So let's get down here. Oops, it probably would have been a good thing if I were actually following the correct row of the pattern. So you get to watch me tank this back. Okay, here we are. Now I'm gonna follow the correct row of the pattern. That would be a novel thing. Okay. So you can tell I have to concentrate when I'm doing my English style knitting. Okay, so we're almost here. Anybody who can share tips for getting your back to stop spasming, I would be very happy to hear them. Yeah, my puppy. So Petunia, my sweet little puppy doggy, like she has opinions and she just does things, whatever she wants to do, she does. If I wanted her to walk on my back, she would decide that she wanted to do anything else. So, okay, so I'm just gonna pull this through here. And now I'm just gonna do my center double decrease. There we go. And so I actually have gotten a little bit better at English style knitting, but it's still sort of pathetic compared to my continental. So I need to work on it a little bit more. Or a lot more. I mean, who am I kidding? Okay, now I'm gonna pull this through again. And my tension is dramatically different as well. My continental, and this is actually fairly common, that continental is a little bit looser than English. So if any of you knit two-handed color work, you have probably noticed that. Alrighty, so now I'm in the center here. Gonna knit my 2 stitches. And okay. We're adding a lot of stitches in the middle. And that is meant to be there. So you'll see when you get there, it looks pretty cool, I think. I like the way it looks. I kind of went through a few different ideas of how I wanted to do the center, and then this one, even though it looks really, it looks a little odd on paper, when you knit it up, it's really pretty. It looks like kind of tidal waters. It's really pretty. Okay. Like this little feather and fan section in the center. And I always lose count of all of the yarn overs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we have that last one. And now I'm gonna knit 2 stitches. And I will show you English style on the other side. So I'm going to slip those 2 stitches together as if to knit, and then knit a stitch over here. And now I'm going to pass those 2 stitches over. So I like to sort of group all of this motion together. So once I do this, I just slip my needle through the marker and then pull everything off. And that lines things up really nicely. And here we go. So yarn over. And another yarn over. So this is at first this pattern is going to look a little odd on top of the chart from before, but I think you'll really like it. It's a really pretty pattern. The lace stitch is a really pretty pattern. Okay, Okay. Oops. And here we go again. I'm going to slip these two together. And then on the other side, I'm going to knit one, pull that through, and then I'm going to slip these two stitches over. Try not to split all my yarn. And now slip my needle into the yarn, into the marker, pull everything off, and now I can knit two, yarn over, knit one through the back loop, knit one through the back loop, then yarn over, knit one, then I have a KFB. And my last stitch. Okay. There we go. Oh, Sue, did you have to rip out some mohair? I hope that if any of you did not see that episode, the second live I did, I showed you my way of taking mohair out. And yay, so I see Catherine, you tanked. That is awesome. Well done. Okay, so without that previous chart, this is what it looks like. Whenever you have offset decreases and increases, like in this, you're gonna see it wave. So if sometimes you're looking at a chart and you're wondering if it's going to be a wavy chart or not, that's one way you can tell. So here's some increases over here, and then the decrease is pretty far over to the side. So that kind of tells you that this is going to be a wavy chart if you don't recognize it. Okay, so that is what it looks so far. So you can see in the middle here, this is really open. In here in the middle, and when you see this in the mohair, you are going to think it's so pretty. I know you will. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Let me move this over. Keep everything sort of like figured out here. Okay, so that is what's going on in chart G. I think I can back out just a little bit. And don't forget that you have this wrong side row up here, and you're always going to end on an even row on these charts. I have actually had that question before, when sometimes people will be unsure as to whether they're ending the chart on this right side row or a wrong side row. So in a chart like this, like in this type of patterning like this, you're always going to end on that resting row, on the wrong side row. So it would be very, very unusual not to do a wrong side row. I mean, it happens sometimes, but it would be really unusual, and it would definitely be called out specifically in the pattern. So otherwise, you're just going to be doing a wrong side row like this after every single pattern row. And another way that you can check down here, row 2 and all even numbered rows through 12. So sometimes once in a while there's a typo or something in here, but so that's why I'm just telling you, like, don't worry about it. You're always going to do a wrong side row after this last pattern row, unless something really odd is happening. Okay, and then we are moving on to color 1. So this is pretty straightforward. Here is what you see is what you knit. So up here, you're just going to be knitting the symbols exactly as you see them. So that means that this down in this area here is garter, because you're going to be knitting the second row here. So it's going to be a garter ridge. And then up at the top here, you're going to be purling that. So this is going to be stockinette up at the top. And down here, you'll see the what you see is what you get chart. So this is what the front side is going to look like. So this texture across here, you can see that that's a garter ridge right across here. And then up at the top here, then you're back to stockinette. And down here, you can see more T increases. I love them. They're so cool and low profile. I think they are really pretty. I hope everybody else loves them too. Let me see. Oh, yay. I am really glad that that helped, Nancy. Yay. And I try to just sort of like share stuff I've learned. So like, you know, I have kids. So that means I've tried to share things that I've learned in my life, and they never pay attention to me. So you all, by actually valuing my mistakes and the things that I've figured out on how to fix them, like, I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. Okay, so let me see. Okay. I think today I have, like, the software is buffering extra because it seems like things are like getting to you a little bit slower than usual. Maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm just going to sort of blather a little bit. And if you have any more questions or anything, let me know. I'm just going to sort of, you know, talk a little bit, and I might bounce a little bit too, like just so my back loosens up. So anyway, yeah, the weather has been very interesting. So when I was first here, it was really super cold. And then, of course, last week it was very hot. Now it's sort of like settled back into normal kind of regular summer. I do want to like just put another plug in for weighing yarn. And for those of you who knit more lace and you've ever done a knitted on edging, this one does not have a knitted on edging, by the way. I'm just kind of mentioning this here as like just a scale is so important if you ever do a shawl with a knitted on edging. And what I'm talking about is it's a different way to bind off the bottom of a shawl to make it really like to have a nice lacy border around the edge, and it's very loose and easy to block out. So one of the big things about lace is you want the edge to be loose enough, bound off loose enough so that you can really pull it out into shape. And the body of the shawl is going to stretch a lot when you block it. So really the difficult points are going to be where you cast on and where you bind off. Edges can sometimes be too tight as well, but like the cast on and the bind off are super, super important because it's really easy to think that your bind off is loose enough, your cast on is loose enough, and then you realize how much that lace portion grows. So like it just grows enormously if you've never blocked out a shawl or like something at a looser gauge like laces. So a knitted on edging is knit onto a shawl at like 90 degrees. So in other words, you have your stitches around the bottom, and then you're going to go back and forth and bind off as you're knitting kind of a strip. So you always, or at least I do, I mean, I am always fooled by how much yarn those things take. And like I said before, this shawl doesn't have a knitted on edging. So what I do with a scale is before I ever knit a knitted on edging, I weigh my yarn and I make sure to know how much one repeat of the knitted on edging takes, because the way they're knit, you're not going to know that you don't have enough yarn until the very end, and it can be incredibly frustrating. So always good to know up front, and you will always use more yarn than you think you do. So if you're doing a shawl in the future and it has a knitted on edging, like I actually have one right now. I just sent out a newsletter yesterday about my Convergency shawl. It's got a big knitted on edging, and it's my latest little experimental deal for you. So like if you're a newsletter subscriber, you got a code for that shawl for $2. And then another code for the whole ebook that it's in for just $10, which is half off. So it's a really wide knitted on edging. So when you're doing that, it uses almost an entire skein of yarn. So the wider edging does. There's a narrower edging as well. So always weigh your yarn, figure out how much you're going to use for an entire repeat. And then one way that you can kind of mitigate any problems is maybe by using one needle like a size smaller than the other needle or something. Like there are different ways you can do it. You can edit the edging, but weigh your yarn. You will thank me, I promise. So let's see if I have any other questions here. Okay, so do we use, thank you for showing me this. Tracy asked if we leave C2 attached when we move to chart H. So chart H here, no. You do not need to leave C2 attached. And I should have put a note in here. I will definitely put a note in the next clue that you can break it, but you don't need to. You don't need to leave it attached. And let's see what else I have. Let me see. Oh, yay, Shauna went to San Francisco. That's awesome. Yay. Okay. So I think I got everything. Hopefully I did. And if you have any questions or anything like that, again, I am happy to answer them. I will definitely get back to you. I will put it in the newsletter. I will sometimes post in the group and write you back, and I will also talk about it on a live. So if there's anything that you want me to go over, any extra, I'm happy to do it. And I'm also happy to say that bouncing around really helped my back, so it stopped spasming. Yay! Anyway, so thank you everybody so much for joining me. It's always lovely to see you all hanging out in the comments. I really appreciate your hanging out with me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. And thank you to those of you who've been leaving kind little messages. I love that. I really appreciate it. So even though I'm half of my brain is missing these days, I do see it and I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you guys. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and I will see you again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.